Testing. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to this glorious fall Monday morning at Delaware State University. I am Shelley Rouser. I am the Department Chair for Education at Delaware State University. Yes. I am also a proud Hornet. I can't tell you what it means to me to be back here in this building where I got a strong foundation to be an educator. I'm approaching 27 years in education, and to be sitting right here celebrating this tremendous occasion means the absolute world. This is the Education and Humanities Building. This is where we prepare the next generation of teachers and administrators. Your feet are planted on the grounds also of our early childhood lab school, and that is where we get our little baby hornets ready. We'll see a couple of those baby hornets, I'm sure, in just a few minutes, probably flying out here. But thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure to have everyone, and it's a real pleasure to have this important announcements coming our way. I will say this. Momentarily, you're going to hear words from our governor and others about the state's initiative to make strategic investments in early childhood education. We're going to talk about the important purposeful investments in making sure that those who take care of our littlest people, our littlest citizens, have the supports that they need. And what you hear in the next 30 minutes means a bunch. It means what you hear in the next 30 minutes means a lot, and where your feet are planted means a lot. Where your feet are planted is a place where in 1891, things got started and opened up doors that were otherwise not opened up. DSU has a legacy of opening up the doors and rolling out the red carpet for those who otherwise would have had the door shut, may not have an opportunity to an education. And I will say this, the inequities in 2021 look different than they did in 1891, but they do persist. And I'm so excited that Delaware State University will be part of the solution. We have an opportunity to turn things around, to make sure that those who have maybe lost some courage to pursue their education or have not had the opportunity to pursue their education are able to do so. We cannot change all of the issues that we're facing with supporting our early childhood professionals, but we can do something, and Delaware State University's legacy has been to do just that. And we are really excited that we will be able to take the lead in doing that for our early childhood professionals. And so I now welcome to the podium our governor. Thank you, Governor Carney. This is an incredible moment. We thank you for your vision. We thank you for your leadership. We thank you for your action. And we are now pleased to hear from our governor, who will share this really important announcement, and he will be followed by members from our congressional delegation. Please join me in welcoming our governor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rouser. Good morning. What a beautiful day. A little chilly. Last event outdoors, I hope. It's great to be here with you, Dr. Allen, all your team here at Delaware State University. Got a big victory on Saturday over Howard. Yeah, baby. It's great to be here with our Lieutenant Governor, 2/3 of our congressional delegation, and we are here to thank them for their incredible effort in making these oh my gosh, we got little ones coming. We got them all coming. They're coming. I know they're going about their activities. It's great to be here with two of our members from the Delaware State Senate, Senator McBride, Senator Gay. Thank you for being with us. I know you have important business today. our Secretary of Education, Dr. Bunting, and Molly McGarrick, the Secretary of Health and Social Services, and so many of you who are in the business of raising up our little ones. The last time we were here at Delaware State University, we were talking about the expansion of the Inspire Scholarship. The Inspire Scholarship has been an inspiration for so many of our young high school graduates coming here to Delaware State University. And Dr. Allen talked at that event about things he was cooking up. We have members of the legislature who joined us that afternoon, and he mentioned how he was cooking up the improvements to the Inspire Scholarship. And I expect that today we'll hear a little bit more about things he's been cooking up. You know, somebody asked me, when I came in this morning, I asked, how are you doing? He said, I'm just living the dream. I feel like I've been living the nightmare. And he said, well, that's a dream too. The last 20 months have been just incredibly difficult for all of us. And part of the reason that we're here today is to support workers and a segment in our community that's so incredibly important. And we knew that before 20 months ago. But over the last 20 months, we've really come to understand how important the early education of our children really is. It's about both early education, making sure that our children get a good head start, but it's also about care for our children and the workers behind the workers, which are those workers in childcare and early childhood education facilities across our state. And so the resources that we're talking about today that have been made available by our congressional delegations and their colleagues in Washington, and President Biden. Did you hear me say that? President Biden, Delaware's own President Biden, are essentially to strengthen this workforce, to strengthen the early education of our children so that the future is great for all those little ones. I was just a minute ago introduced to Little Miss Delaware State University and Little Mr. Delaware State University. Could they stand up and be recognized? Because this is what this is all about. He's got the wave down already. I know he's got the wave down. Look out, here he comes. This is what this is all about. And it's also about keeping our economy going. You know, one of the things that we learned over the last 20 months is that there are portions of our workforce and our economy that in some ways we take for granted. Nurses, law enforcement, first responders, healthcare workers, all the frontline workers, the people that work in our grocery stores that make food available, that deliver food to all of us. We wouldn't be able to survive, we wouldn't be able to keep our economy going without these workers. And one of the things that I learned is in order for all those frontline workers to go to work, there have to be people that are caring and educating their children. There you go. And that's what this really is all about. Resources to make that industry stronger and to keep it strong. Resources to attract new workers to our early education system. Resources to keep all of that moving so the rest of the economy can move and be successful. We've learned about so many parts of our society that are important for all the rest of us. And I think nothing is more important. One of the things that I learned as your governor, as we were trying to keep things moving, was that if we didn't have care facilities for our children, everything else came apart because the other workers couldn't go to work. And so again, to our delegation for your tremendous support of education here in our state, to Delaware State University, and this really exciting effort that you're about, Tony, Dr. Allen, and your team. We thank you for all that good work, and it's my privilege now to introduce the leader of our federal delegation, our senior senator, Senator Tom Carper.
Thank you, Governor. I was elected governor in 1992 and had the privilege of serving with Lisa and with John Carney and some other folks that are here today. They weren't an easy 8 years, but I have a friend, you ask him how he's doing, he says, compared to what? Compared to what John Carney has had to go through and to provide leadership, they were easy years. John Carney has led us through the worst pandemic since, in 100 years. He's led us through the worst recession in, 10, 15 years. And he's done it with great courage, great character, and great success. Give him a big, big round of applause. Thank you. Ed Friel, I think Ed Friel sitting back there. Ed, raise your head. Ed was our chief. He was my chief of staff for part of that, and later on our Secretary of State, and has played a major role in the University of Delaware since then, and has a real focus on early childhood. I talked to Ed earlier today about this event, and I remember I think I was at New Governor's School a million years ago, something the National Governors Association hosts for newly elected governors. And one of the newly elected governors was a guy from Georgia. His name was Zell Miller. And we're talking about education, especially early childhood and workforce development. And 8 years later, he and I got to be good friends. 8 years later, we're stepping down as governors. And I asked him, I said, do you have any regrets? Do you have any regrets, Zell? And he said, if I had it to do all over again, we would not fund the 12th grade. I said, really? What would you do with that money? He'd say, we would put it in early childhood education for ages 0 to 6. He said, that's exactly what we would do. What do you think? Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Well, we're not going to do that here, but we are going to take some steps to better ensure that the kids that are 0 to 6, 0 to 5, 0 to 4, when they walk into kindergarten and first grade, they're ready to roll, they're ready to be successful. I was born in Beckley, West Virginia, a coal mining town, and I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to go back there. There's a great book by Thomas Wolfe that says, you can't go home again. You can go home again. And I did go home again. I led a field hearing that focused on drinking water, wastewater, infrastructure, all kinds of infrastructure issues in West Virginia. We're joined by Joe Manchin and Shelley Capito. Before the event that Thursday morning, a couple of weeks ago, I went out for a run. I like to run. I like to run outside. And I ran down a road called Harper Road. On Harper Road used to be a supermarket, Patton's Market, that was owned by my aunt and uncle, and my grandfather was the butcher. And I ran by a couple of miles down Harper Road and back. I started counting the number of businesses that I saw had signs up that said, help wanted. I stopped counting when I got to 25. There must have been easily 50. I only ran a couple miles down and back. There must have been easily 50. If you go here into Dover, you'll find a lot of businesses that say help wanted. You go down to the beaches, you'll see signs that say help wanted. You'll find the same thing in Newcastle County and Wilmington and Newark as well. You find the same thing across this country, help wanted. But employers want people to come to work. And one of the reasons why they're not coming to work, people aren't coming to work, partly, it's because of childcare, lack of childcare, cost of childcare. And we can complain about that and say, well, that's too bad, or we could do something about it. We're going to do something about it here in the state of Delaware. In the work with Lisa, Chris Coons, and a bunch of our colleagues, Joe Biden, we're going to do something big time. $120 million in direct financial assistance to childcare workers. $10.6 billion to build out the Delaware State University Childhood Innovation Center. Childcare, early childhood education is economic development. There are millions of jobs going unfilled right now that ought to be filled by parents who like to go to work if they just didn't have to worry about what's going to happen to their kids. I'll close with this. One of my best friends in the U.S. Senate, Chris Coons cannot be here. He sends his best. He's been a huge champion. Let me just say, huge champion in all these things. One of my best friends in the U.S. Senate for many years was Chris Dodd. One day we were having a debate on the Senate floor, and we were debating childhood education, early childhood. And I spoke right ahead of Chris, and I mentioned a number of how many words kids know and are able to say in their vocabulary by the age of 5. I think I said something like 6 or 7, 8,000 words. And Chris Dodd followed me. He said, "You're wrong. It's more like 20 or 25,000 words. If we waste those first 5 years, it's hard to get them back. It is hard to get them back. There are too many kids who walk into kindergarten, into first grade. Other kids they know their alphabet. They know their numbers. They can actually write. They can read. They have a head start. And other kids go faster and faster and faster, and they go slower and slower and slower. We got to do something about it. And we can't just talk about it. We got to put our money where our mouth is. And with the great support here of Lisa Blunt Rochester and Chris, we have put your money where your mouths are. And we're going to put a ton of money into making sure that kids have every opportunity to be successful, as do their parents. Nobody cares more about this than Lisa Blunt Rochester. She was a point person, helped us run one of the greatest initiatives of the time that I served as governor, and the Family Services Cabinet Council, which really focuses hugely on early childhood. She was a point person. She helped make it happen and went on to be Secretary of Labor and all these other things as well. I love Lisa, and she is here today not to be a cleanup hitter, but she's going to be here to knock it out of the park. Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And thank you so much to the Senator for that incredible introduction. I'm not going to continue on with the sports analogies, but I will say, maybe I'll say I think today is a touchdown. I'll give it to Delaware State University, to the Hornets, that today is a touchdown. I am so pleased to be with you, particularly with our governor, for his leadership, as the senator said, in such a time as this, for his staunch advocacy for children and families, along with the lieutenant governor, who has also been a champion on crushing this pandemic. I want to give them both a round of applause just for their leadership. To the legislators who are here, and these are some true champion legislators that are here. No offense to the rest, but when we talk about family, children's, FMLA, childcare, all of the issues that are vital and economic, we have some champions here in the House. To the cabinet members that represent this incredible governor and our state, to the alumni, to the board of trustees of Delaware State University under the leadership of Devonna Williams, to any students who are present, to the young people who are present, to the child care heroes and sheroes and advocates and caregivers. Thank you so much. Yes, I heard a little woo on that one. Yes, I feel you. I feel you. To all of you who are here, good morning and thank you. Especially, I want to thank Tony Allen. Dr. Allen and his team have been really not just champions during the pandemic, but they had the vision before the pandemic and have taken things to a whole new level. We thank you for hosting us today. We thank you for your leadership. I'm going to try to be pretty brief because, as I said, I think today is really a touchdown. The senator already talked about the major investments, and as I thought about it today, I really thought about the fact that this is really about providing quality care with love. It is about preparing generations for the future. We know that this pandemic has taken an inordinate toll on so many of us, but I don't think there is any group, in addition to all of our healthcare providers, than you, that had to adapt, that had to change, that had to deal with workforce shortages, had to deal with funding issues, had to deal with adapting your physical plant, and then had to deal with just the fears and concerns of parents and caregivers as well. We salute you today. We salute you. And to the families, as a mom, I can speak to the concern and the fear of how are you going to be able to afford childcare? Something that seems so basic. There are 33 states in this country where childcare is as expensive as college. Delaware is one of those states. The investments that the governor and that we in Congress and that the president have made are instrumental and vital for such a time as this. It will help people to feel safe. It will help people to feel cared for. But one of the things that really stuck out for me when we passed the American Rescue Plan and invested $39 billion as a down payment was that the individuals that are responsible for our children are beyond a workforce. They are professionals. They are professionals who deserve to be treated like professionals. They deserve our respect. And as Beyonce would say, we should put some respect on their checks. You know, I couldn't get away without mentioning Beyonce. And so today, the investments, not only to fund the Early Childhood Innovation Center, which we are doing today. Dean, where'd the dean go? There you are. This is hallowed ground. We are happy to be doing that, but also the additional investments, not just at DSU, but across our state. I will close by saying that our efforts don't end today. That's the exciting news. I'm about to go to Washington, D.C., and hopefully we went from rescuing to building back better. Let's build it back better. And so this week, watch out for the investments that we will make in the House. Historic investments in childcare and universal pre-K. Now, I don't know about you, but as I thought about this last night, I thought about the fact that high school, as the governor mentioned, just education alone, the fact that our country allows children to have an education, that is an expectation. That was historic enough, we thought. But to go to the beginning of when these little people enter the world and start to educate them then, start to give them hope then, start to look at our economy, because we're not the only ones who care about this. The chambers of commerce support this investment. Yes, the chambers, the business community. And I thought about 30 years ago, next week, my daughter was turning 3 years old. And this morning as I walked out the door, I found this picture. You might not be able to see it. She gave me this picture frame. It says, "A mother is love," which we are. And it's a picture of my daughter, Alyssa, next to her brother, Alex, at her birthday party. She'll be 33 next week, so it was 30 years ago. And she is looking up at Chuck E. Cheese. Some of you are familiar with the old Chuck E. Cheese birthday party. And her face is in awe. Her mouth is open with expectation. To me, this look, the ability to give children curiosity, awe, excitement, education, this is what it's about. It is about our children. It is about our future. It is about the professionals that we support in the effort, and it is about uplifting all of us. Let's build back better for our children. And now I get the great opportunity, incredible opportunity, to introduce to all of you someone who needs no introduction in this room and is a real champion for our children. Ladies and gentlemen, the Executive Director of the Delaware Association for the Education of Young Children, Jamie Schneider. Yay, Jamie!
I'm usually on the receiving end of I'm introducing the Congresswoman and or listening to someone say it's always hard to go up again after her. And they're totally true. So good morning. My name's Jamie Schneider. I am the president of the Delaware Association for the Education of Young Children, more commonly known as DAISY. I am also the owner of the Educational Enrichment Center, a child care center in North Wilmington. Thank you, Governor Carney. Thank you, Congresswoman Blunt-Rochester, Senator Carper, Lieutenant Governor Hall Long. Thank you, Senator Gay and Senator McBride for being here with us today. But also thank you to our champions who couldn't be here today. Thank you, Senator Sturgeon, Senator Lockman, Representative Williams, Representative Heffernan, and Representative Briggs-King. DAISY has worked tirelessly throughout the pandemic to ensure the child care industry remains intact. And thankfully, we've done it with the support of those whom I've just named and community partners such as Rodell, the Delaware Readiness Teams, Children and Families First, the Reading Consortium, and many more. We know that this is just the beginning of a movement here in Delaware. We found ourselves in unprecedented and unpredictable times, and in March 15th of 2020 was a pivotal day for childcare. Within moments, we were elevated to essential workforce along with those in healthcare and other industries. We became frontline workers. Childcare has no virtual model. Parents who were on the front lines and keeping our economy going needed childcare to continue to do their vital work. We have shown up every day since then, ready to continue to be the workforce behind the workforce. Many of you here today would not have been able to continue your jobs without childcare. And I'd like to take a moment, which is not long enough, to thank and acknowledge the work of providers during this time. I know we have a few providers here with us today, and I'd ask you to stand, please, so we can acknowledge you, acknowledge those in this building, and acknowledge those across the state. Your dedication to children and families throughout this time is unmatched. This one-time federal funding builds the foundation we need here in Delaware to support long-term state initiatives and funding that is desperately needed to provide an equitable start for all children in Delaware. The funding must be a catalyst to create sustainable ways to fund childcare that ends the decades-long crisis that the industry has been facing. We have seen significant, historic financial federal dollars come into the state, and we have had an administration that has made it a priority that that funding get to child care. And we are definitely thankful to the governor's office, the Department of Education, thank you, Dr. Bunting, the Office of Early Learning, Department of Health and Social Services, thank you, Secretary McGarrick, for including providers in the discussion and including us at the decision-making process to ensure that the funding is thoughtfully and purposely spent in ways that support childcare, a field that not only stabilizes our small businesses, but this has also been funding that has been available to elevate our workforce. We work with a population that is currently not eligible for a vaccination. It will be a long time before they may be eligible ever for a vaccination, but our workforce has shown up every day knowing the risks associated. We are a workforce primarily of women, primarily of Black, Indigenous women of color, many of whom, like myself, are single mothers, many of whom rely on government subsidy programs because they make just over the minimum wage. There are rarely benefits, there is rarely paid time off, and it is a highly skilled, as you said, professional workforce that is responsible for creating the social and emotional educational foundation that children need not to only be successful in academics, but all areas of life. I am confident with everyone here today that we will work together. We can elevate early care and education in Delaware to be a national example of how to solve the child care crisis. We must continue to work in partnership to make sure that Delaware families feel secure in going to work each day and knowing their children are in high quality, developmentally appropriate child care. So now I truly have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to Melanie Price Thomas, and she will talk about her experience as an owner in childcare along with Sean Toner and Danae Sewell. Thank you so much.
All right. I have never been more excited. I'm going to start by saying it is a great day for me to return to Delaware State University. I was a student here when it was just Delaware State. So that's been over 30 years ago. So it's amazing to see how much growth is taking place here at Delaware State. Can we give the college a hand? Awesome, awesome. Well, I thank God for this opportunity, an opportunity that brings me great, immense joy to celebrate an industry that has answered the call, and they have answered the call in a big way. This industry has demonstrated that we play a critical role during difficult times, in times of unprecedented, unpredictable situations. Over the last 17 months, our staff has been resilient and capable to face hardships. You know, I remember on March the 14th, I'll never forget that day. And I actually sent an email to the governor's office, and someone called me back within minutes. And he said, you will get guidance the next day. Can I tell you, we have not stopped getting guidance since? Put your hands together for our governor. We are still getting guidance. So I do thank him for that. I am so proud of my staff because when we got word, I found out that there was going to be a small list of industries that would continue to keep their doors open, and early care and education was on that list. We answered the call. Not only did, put your hands together for that. We answered the call because our teachers, some of them had underlying issues, some of them were older, many of them were single mothers. I probably have over 90% single mothers. Over 90% of my parents have purchased a care in Wilmington, Delaware. I have 2 centers in the city. So for these mothers, I went around to each and every one of them. I've never been so proud in my life. I went to them, I said, are you willing to serve? Because I had already settled in my heart that a leap of faith will remain open. And every single one but one, all of them but one said, I signed on to serve. These mothers answered the call. They are mothers and they are staff. They answered the call. I have never been so proud. Well, we're in a place now when we are making the call. Today, we are reaching out, and looks like to me I'm in the right place because we don't really have to make the call. You guys have already decided that we are worthy. We are worthy to move forward, to raise up the children, and to also help parents in our communities. Here are some of the situations that we are starting to encounter in a major way in early care and education. One, to begin with, early care and education programs, many of our enrollment has plummeted drastically. Many of us have never gotten back to capacity, and in particular in the city. I'm not sure about Kent and Sussex, but many of us are not back to where we were, and we can't right now. It is very difficult. It's very difficult to do. Even when we have to close down rooms because of an exposure, parents aren't necessarily bringing children back. And it affects everything, particularly when you are serving over 90% purchase of care. It affects your purchase of care. When purchase of care is affected, so is your STARS money, and then it trickles right on down to the food program reimbursement. So many of us right now are no longer stable. We're talking about stability funds. Many are no longer stable. So it was wonderful to hear that we're ready to do something about it. We're talking about a touchdown. We also want the other points. We want the field goal as well, right? In addition, there is an urgent need for funding to get qualified teachers back in the classroom. We want to get Delawareans working again. This is important. We cannot continue to do what we do if we don't get folks back working again. So this is important. We're having a challenge with not only with recruiting, but also with retaining teachers. And then lastly, I'm going to end with there is a population of centers that have been working throughout this pandemic. They decided to stay on as essential workers. And my staff is included in those numbers. Those teachers now, some are fatigued, even stress with depressive symptoms. These are implications that can't be ignored. We cannot no longer ignore those implications. However, there is a silver lining. With tremendous adversity comes great opportunity. Opportunity to invest and implement policies that will keep our doors open for business and benefit future generations. Future generations. That's what we want to do collectively. ECE must be strengthened to serve and answer the call. We want to continue to answer the call. Remember, when early care and education is strong, children are strong, future adults are strong, and it leads to a stronger nation. Thank you. Sean?
Good morning. My name is Sean Toner. I'm the president and owner of Beach Babies Childcare in centers throughout the state in Lewis, Rehoboth, Townsend, and Milford, serving over 500 families throughout the state. When the COVID pandemic first hit early child education 18 months ago, we initially closed for 69 days. And after reopening, I didn't know how we were going to make it. Since then, early child educators have been on the front line working and unable to remote work or telecommunicate. And without the funding that we have received through enhanced reimbursements, grants, other subsidies, many of the child care centers that are still open today may not have made it. This funding has allowed child care centers to recruit staff by being able to offer competitive wages, signing bonuses, and has helped us retain our current staff through retention bonus and increase hourly wages, with the average child care worker only making $11 an hour. This new funding will help child care centers to recruit, train, and retain new staff, allowing centers to fill classroom vacancies and reopen closed classrooms. Early child education is a cornerstone of the economy and allows parents to go to work knowing that their children are being cared for in a safe environment by qualified early child education teachers. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Danae Sewell, and I'm the director here at Delaware State University's Early Childhood Laboratory School. And at our core, everyone that's here, we know that it takes a village to raise a child. And in that, we cannot forget about those that make up the village. Keeping the early education workforce at the forefront is everybody's job. When I think about the workforce, everything that my counterparts have shared, but in particular, I think about all of those who are braving today. My teams all over, this Monday morning, also known as the day after Halloween, like no other day, maybe besides daylight savings. For those of us who've been in the field, myself going on close to 20 years, we know and understand that it's about the future of early childhood education and future early childhood educators. We also know and understand the value of teamwork and partnership. At the lab school, we have a mantra, and if you spent any time there, you will have heard it throughout the day. That mantra is, go team. We say it when we're ending phone calls with each other. We say it in passing. We say it after the nap time fire drill. We say it when things are going great, and we say it Monday mornings after Halloween. We know that it takes a team effort day in and day out to do the vital work of human development. I applaud the intentionality of this opportunity and this decision that puts the early education workforce front and center while increasing the reach of early childhood education. Our president, Dr. Tony Allen, has long advocated for elevating opportunities that amplify the voices of those in early childhood education. Together, we can ensure Promise communities, such as Dover, and communities all over Delaware have the high-quality educators needed to support every child in every classroom every day. Go team? Go team. All right. Without further ado, our president, Dr. Allen.
Go team. Thank you, Danae. Go coach. I am very excited about today for a couple of reasons. One thing I've learned being president of Delaware State University, number one priority is to listen. And my chair, my dear friend, Dr. Devonna Williams, said to me at the end of the spring, I want you to talk to Kim Krasnowski and set up a meeting. And in Dr. Devonna's style, she had that meeting and say, go get it done. Kim was introduced, I knew she knew her, but I introduced her to Shelley Rouser. And for the next 3 months, they built a program not just for Delaware State University, but for the entire state of Delaware. I want to give it up for Shelley Rouser and Kim Krasnowski. Would you please stand? Come on, Kim. I'm very excited about what's happening here for a lot of reasons. On October 31st, we have what we call census, Governor. Census means that you have to tell folks how many students you have at your institution. I'm proud to report that we have 5,700 students at Delaware State University, more than any other time in the university's history. And what we're trying to do, as you know, is to be the most diverse, contemporary, and unapologetic HBCU in America. And while I won't quote Beyonce like my dear friend, Congresswoman Blunt Rochester, the way you get to do that is to have friends and partners who believe in your vision and mission. Congresswoman Blunt Rochester and I literally speak once a week. She's been my friend for many years, 3 decades in fact, and I'm proud to know that she is the same person in Congress as she is at home here in Delaware. Thank you for everything that you've been able to do for us. I also want to say to my governor, thank you, brother, for everything that you have done. I know everybody has said this, but it is not easy to run through a pandemic while you're running a university. I have no idea what that means while you're running an entire state. You have done a phenomenal job, and everybody believes in you and recognizes that there was no other way to do it. And I think we got the best pandemic response in America because of Governor John Carney. Thank you. I also want to recognize Colonel Debbie Harrington, who's one of our trustees. What's great about the Colonel is she is the chair of our Student Success Committee, which means that she's responsible for all the learning experiences at Delaware State University, along with our Chief Academic Officer, Sandra DeLauder. So when you see the greatness that Delaware State is and will become, it is because of their efforts. So thank you both for everything that you do. And obviously, we have the 2 senators here, Senator Gay and Senator McBride, and my dear friend, Representative Chukwocha, who just arrived, who is also an alum of Delaware State University. Let me say this, I don't think we said it enough. $120 million is going to early childhood education today. $120 million. And if you heard Congresswoman Blunt Rochester talk, she mentioned that they're not done. Congress is not done. The president is not done. The governor is not done. What that means for us is that the lot of these students right here will be forever changed as they think about the next logical step in their lives. And it is because of the folks who are around them. I don't know about you, but I remember every teacher who ever touched me in a deep way. And my mother remembers them all too, because she allowed them to touch me in a different way when that was allowed. So I just want to say to all of you, it is not lost on me what this means and what you mean to all of us, not just today, but every day. God bless you and thank you. Finally, I do want to talk a bit about the Early Innovation Center at Delaware State University. Not only do we have $10.6 million to build a new Early Innovation Center for the entire state of Delaware, we'll have additional $20 million coming from the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Social Services to make sure that our early education providers have the tools that they need to be successful throughout the state. Does that mean scholarships? It sure does. Does that mean certifications? It sure does. Does that mean undergraduate degrees and advanced degrees? It sure does. And that is for everybody. And it's as important for us as it is for all of our college partners. So whether you're at Del Tech, University of Delaware, or any Wilmington University, or any other institution in this state, we're in this together. We are proud that we are housing the Early Innovation Center here, but we are in this together. So thank you for all that you have done. More importantly, thank you for what you will do in support of this wonderful opportunity for all of us. And with that, I want to bring up my dear friend, Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long.
Thank you, Tony, for those stories. We won't talk to your mom, but maybe later. But it is awesome to be here. And when you're the last speaker, a lot of good things have been said. And what I'd like to do is just do a quick summary, but to start again by thanking our congressional delegates and to Lisa and Senator Carper, Senator Coons for the funding from our president and our leadership, certainly with Governor Carney, and to Dr. Tony Allen and your incredible team here at Delaware State. Thank you for hosting us. And the day after, Deanna, we're not too bad with the candy, but I'm looking at the faces. I know we've been out here around an hour. And so what I would like to do in closing is just to start by reiterating, I know Governor Carney appointed me and Secretary Bullock to oversee the Pandemic Resurgence Advisory Committee. And in doing so, one of the major thrusts and components was not only frontline workers and keeping the doors open, but childcare was front and center, as has been stated today. And during that same time, a show of hands, I see a number of faces, including our senator and representatives, who were part of our Early Childhood Learning Strategic Planning Group with the Hunt Fellowship. Hunt Keen, raise your hand. With myself, Secretary Yvette Sanchez-Fuentes, where we were coming together at the same time, laying out the strategic plan for the future of childcare and early learning in our state. And so merging those together, I want you to picture 4 pillars: health, economics, education, and the piece that I feel is most critical, and I know our governor and other electeds do as well, equity. Really important, and that's what today is about, as our cabinet members, our leaders in our community, but most importantly, those in the front line. You live through, you've heard the stories today, the challenges with COVID and our PPE and keeping those doors open and keeping our children healthy. You've particularly heard, and Dr. Allen, you raised it at the end, the challenge to the future with workforce and these stabilization funds, as well as the offset with stipends and wages, are going to be so important, because we know, according to Pew Charitable Trust, 93% of the workforce in childcare in America, as well as in Delaware, are women. And 3 out of 4 women during this pandemic experienced those challenges. And we heard from each of you, from Danae and Melanie and Sean, and from the dean here and Shelley, how we've kept the doors open. And that's what's so important, is having the health, keeping the economy, knowing if we're healthy, Governor, we have that healthy economy, right? Healthy community, healthy economy. But forefront and foremost, education. If we think about it, folks, I want you to remember this number, 1,825. We have 1,825 days to get it right, from birth to 5. Early childhood is where we can accomplish that. In Del State, with this new center, you're going to be a shining model for the state, working with our Office of Child Learning, with the board, around equity as well. And when you think about that, we have that equal opportunity. Every child, despite their background and zip code, should have that. So as our governor has invested, thanks to the hard work of our congressional delegation, and to a lady that was hiding in the back, Claire DeMattias, who worked with the ARPA funds, Claire, give a wave, to make sure that in Delaware, we are on that pathway. This is the start in the future. So, again, I just want to say thank you. Again, it's been a pleasure to be here, and we really look forward to coming back, turning ground, not only on this innovation center, but leading the path so that we're going to meet your challenge. We heard you over here Delaware continues to be the best in the country with early childhood education. Thank you all so much for coming. I believe I will turn this back to our host, Dr. Tony Allen. And again, thank you, Tony, for this wonderful day. And I'm glad this weather held out on November 1st for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, ma'am. All right, we're getting ready to close, but I have to bring up Mr. and Miss Little, Delaware State University. You're going to get applause the rest of your life, so you might as well get used to it, okay? All right, everybody, if you can stand, give it up for these quality children, because this is what it's all about. Make sure they hear you. Make sure they hear you. You're going to wave? You're going to do your wave? Can you do your wave? Can you see the wave? All right, all right. Okay, in the words of the incomparable Danae Sewell, go team. Thank you.